Hey class, I want to go over our case study for Bayview, the ethical students. I'm going to go over how to do this case study and some easier ways to do it in their textbook. If you had it, please go ahead and download the Bayview Excel file from the announcement section of the uh, uh, course this week. So go ahead and do that. Pause the video if you haven't read the case study as well. Alright, so now you've downloaded your case study and you have something that looks similar to this. You have a whole bunch of students, about 90 of them, that we can see here. And they've answered questions from copied on exam, copied from the internet, collaborated on the individual project, and then we have it as a gender. So what I do is I go and create a pivot table. Alright, very simple in doing that. What I do is that I go ahead and I go into the pivot table and then I take that data out from the pivot table and I make it into my own individual table so that it looks good and ready. Some people are really good at creating data tables from pivots. I don't. I just find it kind of more annoying, and I can grab the data, copy it over, and make a table probably faster than it would have taken me to mess around in Excel to get the pivot table to do that. So let's go back to the data, and what I do here is that I go to Insert, and I highlight all my data. If I miss anything, then I'll have some problems. And I go into my data in here and I correct pivot table. It says select a table arrange. It's already highlighted for me. New worksheet, and it comes out and it looks similar to this. I'm just going to go ahead and go back to mine, and then I click on this and I have my data here. And so what I do here is one second. I go ahead and I put these here and I put the values here, I put the gender here, and I can find out all that data that I need to create data statistics that are going to look good. And so my first chart is here. I grab this information, I say copy from the internet, no, yes, N is for some in there. Put the percentages in there, and I copied on the exam, no, yes, and then I put down percentages on that as well, and then collaborative on individual projects, no, count, cheated, no, vice versa in there, and then I have that data in there, and then I usually write a little paragraph underneath that just to explain what that data is doing. Alright, so that's question one, what you're going to do in there. So in question two, they're asking us to come up with a probability or hypothesis in here of how many people copied from the internet. So I went and I grabbed this one chart that I had here, which is collaborated on individual projects. And I put no, yes, count, 18, 14, 30, and 80, and this is just my male students, percentage on that, if they did or not, and I came up here with my 43.75, and so overall 21 of the 48 male students, or 43.775, were involved in some type of cheating. And so I grabbed that data and I said, okay, I'm going to place this in a margin of error, and I know the margin of error formula at a 95% confidence interval, just like last week, is my 1.96, okay? So I have my 1.96 right here as my margin of error, and I put in my 43.75 into the formula, minus it out all over my sum, and that is 48 males. And I come up with 0.1403. That is my margin of error with this sample, is that it is 14%, which is pretty big. And so my confidence interval at 95% says that it can be either about 30% to 58% of the students that can be cheating on that. Now you're going to go through that, and you're going to do that for female students, and maybe it's just the overall population. If you're feeling pretty creative on that, that's how the charts look. That's how you do that formula. I find it easier to do that formula than placing it into an Excel. That will take longer. Sometimes just the basic math, taking that square root, boom, we are good with that. Now in question 3 and 4, they're going to start looking at the Chronicle of Higher Education's reported that the proportion of business students who admitted to some form of cheating was 56%. Since we are interested in testing to see if the population proportions of business students at Bayview who admitted to some form of cheating is less than the business students at other universities, we are looking for evidence of the population proportion is less than 56%. Thus, the proportion hypothesis is here. So the population is greater, or the population is less, and we're going to use a alpha of 0.05. So in here is what we're going to do, and you can go ahead and I put down here as a way of doing it in Excel if you want to go ahead. So we put the p-value, and using the p-value is equal to normal distribution here, and in that sense you can find out if it's true or false. Or you can go ahead and place this into the easier, for me, the easier equation that goes in here, and I have my probability in there at 0.4111, and I have my 50% over there, and I go ahead and I find out that it's 0.0523. Okay, going back to that, I put that all over it, and I have a negative 2.85. And since the test statistics are in the lower tail, the p-value in this area is under the curve for the z at negative 2.85. And so that is how we can find out the answers to questions 3 and 4. Now, question 5 is a little bit easier. They're going to tell you ways that you can help get students to stop cheating. So here is, if of some type, in fact, that approximately 41% of all Bayview business students are involved in some type of cheating, still indicates a serious problem for the college. Dean needs to take an additional steps to deal with the problem of cheating in college. Possible steps the dean might consider include the following. Tell me some of those things that you would want to do so that you can do it. One of them could just be additional time to turn in late work. Some students get anxiety, or they have life that comes up and they're so afraid to turn in work late. Maybe they need additional time to do that. Maybe there's a million different things that you can tell me why students cheat and why you don't think, what could help them from cheating. Maybe it's additional tutoring. Maybe it's just they get frustrated, don't know the answer in there. The biggest one that I always find out is that students to me, or when someone that I ask someone, hey, why are you cheating? They, about 70% always tell me they don't think this is important in the real world. They won't need to know this to be successful. So maybe the dean needs to explain to each one of those learning outcomes of why it's important. Of course, I'm here to help, and I'm always here to help you if you have any questions or concerns.